Jacob and I moved to Philadelphia in 1972 because I was starting the graduate school at Penn in architecture. And Jacob was working, turns out, at Philadelphia Life Insurance Company. So we settled into a little apartment in Powelton Village. Unlike New Haven, where most of our set was white, in Philadelphia there was a fairly large black component, even in the gay circles we were in. We had this friend, Fritz. And Fritz was a Penn grad who had stayed another year or two and was working in the library. And Fritz was the first person I ever met that was completely interested in black guys. You know, we were meeting Fritz's friends, and very interesting group of people. But Jacob and I were a couple, so we weren't dating anyone else. So I won this scholarship to go to Europe for the entire summer. It was, to see architecture. So I did, and I can't say that I was a saint while I was away. Well, Jacob wasn't exactly Penelope sitting waiting for me either. When I got back, it turns out that Fritz had sort of introduced him to this black-white set. And it really was a whole scene in Philadelphia. Jacob, it turns out, had an affair with this black kid for the whole summer. There was this young kid, probably 18, 19. And it was quite clear that Jacob was in love with this kid and things had changed. So, okay, separate bedrooms. Luckily, there was another bedroom. So I moved into another bedroom, and at that point, we were roommates, not lovers. I'd never had sex with a black man in my entire life up to that point. I mean, Yale wasn't particularly black in those days. So I started going to these bars, and damned if I didn't then have my first sex with a black guy. And I mean, it was exciting. It was something very new. And I can't quite tell you what it was about it, but I went back for more. I started having a distinct preference. That's where I'd go, to one of those two bars, and I was going home with black guys. I wasn't taking home white guys, so it was just one of those things. So I didn't really know what to think about it. And I tried to guess even, like why this, And then I finally said, well, why does it matter? I couldn't figure out why I was gay, but I came out as a gay man. I really couldn't figure out why I really liked black guys, but why was that a problem? It just was what was real. There was this beginning of this nationwide organization called Black and White Men Together, BWMT. So this isn't just like a little Philadelphia thing. This becomes this nationwide organization. It was, in a way to band together against prejudice. You could assert your identity because you had all your back. They had your back. That sense that it wasn't just me. By the way, there's a nationwide group like us. I'm not weird. Did I experience prejudice? A wee bit. Just a touch, but it was there. I remember at least one occasion, maybe a few, where my white peers would say, well, what's wrong with you, Ted? What's wrong with white guys? I call people on their racism about why that wasn't just fine. Now, you could turn that on its head and say, my attraction was inherently racist. And I mean, that would bother me. And I think sometimes I got that turned on me by black guys that you're only interested in me because I'm black. I just didn't see that in myself. I never saw myself being racist. I never saw it in a negative light. I always saw it totally in a positive light because that was my attraction. I mean, it's what I liked. So why should I feel negative about it? I wasn't going to accept other people's knocking that for whatever their ideas about preconceived notions of racism, my racism, their racism, or whatever. I remember marching in the Philadelphia Gay Parade and feeling that for the first time in my life, I was going to associate with the bigger idea of the gay community by literally marching down Spruce Street in Philadelphia's first post-Stonewall gay event, public event. And it wasn't a big parade, but it was representing the full spectrum of gay circa 1973. It was a great leveler. And I realized with gay liberation that you could take it further. And I think when I came out as a gay man who liked black men, that I simply took that concept further. This is just a great big family, and let's just drop all the shit, all the prejudice. And I think that without that gay parade in '73 and all that followed, with that kind of liberation of my mind, I probably couldn't have gotten there on my own. But it got me to the place where I could just fly out into a different culture and connect with all that Black culture has meant to me in my life, and all the wonderful people I have met who, you know, I might not have fallen in love with or met without this release of prejudice. And ultimately, it ended up in my 30-year relationship with a very lovely, charming, beautiful black man.